All right, everybody. Hello again. Trial attorneys back at you. Here to have a discussion. This is Shay Allen and
Ricky Granderson.
all right. So we're gonna talk about what's been going on lately in the rap community. It's something I like to really get into. Rap or hip hop, as some people call it. Even though there's a difference between hip hop and rap, generically. But this has really come to the forefront, especially because of the Super Bowl last weekend. But with this Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef, Drake and Kendrick Lamar going back and forth. The interesting thing is, you say, what can be a legal, twist on this? If you notice, during the performance, in the middle performance, before he performed the song I'm gonna get into, Not Like Us.
You say he, who you referring to?
Lamar, Kendrick
Okay.
Lamar.
Okay.
Before Kendrick Lamar performed, of course he performed at the Super Bowl, we all know. But before he performed the song "Not Like Us," I don't know if I'm gonna perform the song because they like to sue. That's what his words was. They like to sue. And I was interested. I said, "What do you mean they like to sue?" So it turned out that Drake has sued UMG Recordings, which is his label, is also the label of Kendrick Lamar. So Drake has sued UMG. I find it super interesting because the genesis of hip hop and rap and the so-called rap beefs, has really come a long way.
Do you know the original purpose of the rap beef was?
What was it?
Both the parties agree they'll just go back and forth to make money for both people.
Yeah.
Now, you get the, with the gangster rap, they take it personally, and then people get hurt.
People do get hurt. And we have many examples of it. We can go back. One of the earliest ones I can think of that really caught my attention was Ice Cube and NWA. I said, geez, man, these dudes are really mad at each other. The responses were getting really personal. And Ice Cube was not happy with NWA and his label as well, when he went solo and left from the group. People weren't happy with Eazy-E, and that got really contentious back then.
My rap knowledge stops at 1990s. So you're the in-house expert.
Yeah, right. And then a lesser known, I guess you could say, rap battle, even if I can think of from a while ago, a beef but it still got a lot of, because it got personal as well, was LL Cool J and Cannabis. Can I Bust? But because Cannabis he wasn't a really big name at that time, and I think LL doesn't get as much respect as he'll tell you he doesn't get as much respect as he should when it comes to rap and hip hop. But that got contentious as well.
That's one way for Cannabis to put his name out there.
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. To get that going. Then of course, we get moving to more modern times, 50 Cent and Ja Rule. That got contentious as well. But I think when you get down to even 50 Cent, when he talks about his past and all the legal activity and things he does, he didn't seem like he understood it's a business, and you're not gonna take this personally. You're not gonna try to actually hurt people. And he and from all intents and purposes, he can be very litigious and very, very, very straightforward and aggressive. So then you move, I think more recent times, Jay-Z and Nas, that got contentious. Many people consider Ether, the song Nas came back with, as one of the greatest beef, or records probably until this song. It's Not Like Us song. And of course I can't leave out Tupac and Biggie, which of course was fatal for both of them. These things are crazy, but you think about all those battles that I just named. It was I think it was more about, a lot of it was more about the craft. It was more about hip hop. It was more about just the skill and not liking somebody and going back and forth in that way. But now, rappers suing.
It used to be the drive-by before the lawsuit.
Right. People now it's a lawsuit. It's a lawsuit going on.
You can hurt more people with a lawsuit.
Yeah,
than a 9mm.
I found that this Drake and Kendrick Lamar battle, it was I don't know, it was interesting to me because it just kind of synthesized out of nowhere to me. It just and then he kept making. Well, it was good for the culture because they kept making these songs much faster than they would make them otherwise to go back and forth with each other. But man, did not like us. He got Kendrick Lamar got personal.
So I'm a teller myself as far as age. See, back in my younger years, see, I take example Prince. Prince will only make, just use him as an example, one album a year.
Yeah,
I remember in May we couldn't wait until October until the new Prince album came out. Now people are just making songs every 5 minutes.
Well,
literally.
Well, and we're gonna get into this lawsuit here, but part of the lawsuit they do talk about how the UMG execs basically say it's very difficult for artists to cut through all the noise nowadays, and they make allegations that UMG took a lot of extra steps they usually don't take to make sure this song Not Like Us cut through all the noise. Because you have, internet streaming, there's just everything's available. It's much different. I was telling somebody the other day how we used to have to go to, we would wait to Tuesdays when new CD came out. We would go to like Tower Records, and you would go in there,
Exactly.
and you would, be excited to get the new CD, get your hands on it. And,
the line will be long.
Yep, you have to wait in line, and but now you just download it. So it's very different. It's very different. But okay, so Aubrey Drake Graham, which is of course.
Oh, that's a gangster name, Aubrey.
Things are different nowadays. It's going in different phases. This guy's, who initially gained fame from being on Degrassi. You know that show, Degrassi?
No.
Yeah, it's like a teenage soap opera. That's how Drake got his start. He was on he was on a teenage soap opera, and
that's gangster.
Well, yeah.
He put that on his gangster resume.
I don't even know if Drake. I don't think he considers himself tough. I don't know if he tries to be tough.
Okay, you might be right.
I don't know.
Okay, you might be right.
I hope not. You don't have to be.
No, I get it.
Different lanes for everybody. And so Aubrey Drake Graham versus UMG Recordings. And this was filed up in New York in district court in federal court. So the lawsuit, it starts out very interesting. It starts out with a quote, which is always good because it catches everyone's attention. It says, "A single lie can destroy a reputation of integrity. And while it takes years to build a reputation, it can be ruined in 5 minutes." That's a pretty good quote. And
it's a good opening statement.
And what's even better, you know who said it? The chief executive officer at UMG. That's his quote.
He got, you know how some rappers have what they call a writer?
Yeah.
What's the
ghostwriter?
Yeah, maybe he had a ghostwriter.
Yeah.
Maybe he had some rappers say, "Hey man, give me a line."
Sir Lucian Grainage. That's his name. He's a knight. He was knighted.
Oh, I thought it was a brother.
No, Sir Lucian Grainage is the chief executive officer at UMG Recording.
Ghostwriter.
Yeah, ghostwriter. But so they start off the lawsuit with his own quote because this case is clearly going to be a libel or defamation case. Ricky, what's the difference between libel and defamation?
Libel means if you say something that's false using like the press, the media. Defamation is the use of words.
Yeah. So,
and normally you're successful if the person knew that the statements to be false or reasonably knew them to be false.
Right. And that's when these things can get a little messy because truth is a defense, right? So if what you said was
true, they said
true,
truth is an absolute defense.
Yeah. So if what you're saying is true, so what's going to happen is if this goes to trial, there's going to be the UMG's attorneys are going to try to prove that Drake is a pedophile because that's what the lawsuit comes down to. That's what the big gripe is. But there are other interesting points. Even in just in the introduction, of the lawsuit here. So the lawsuit starts out. It talks about violence that's perpetrated towards Drake. That people. So this talks about on the 9th of May 7th of 2024. An armed group of assailants drove up to the Toronto house in which Drake and his family resided. Drake was inside. The car stopped in front of the residence. Someone yelled, "Fuck Drake," and at least one gunman began to open fire. One bullet went through the security gate and hit Drake's front door. Another bullet struck and wounded a security guard who was also one of Drake's friends. While the car drove away, Drake and the others in the house summoned for help for the security guard and did everything possible to keep him alive. So it took 30 minutes for an ambulance to come.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, they held pressure to the gunshot wound. There was blood everywhere. I mean, fortunately, the security guard did not pass away. And then the next day, on May 8th of 2024, a different intruder used his bare hands to dig a hole under the security fence surrounding Drake's Toronto house. He managed to dig deep enough to squeeze through and enter Drake's property. Fortunately, the security guards grabbed that guy, but as he was being pulled off the property, he yelled racist slurs and threats against Drake. Then May 9th, another break-in attempt happened. And so these things are happening. I mean, actual violent and dangerous incidents are happening at his home.
I mean, these people obviously have to be crazy. I mean, can Kendrick Lamar be responsible for the acts of crazy people?
Well, and that's going to be, probably one of UMG's defenses. But Drake's attorneys, they actually do. I mean, not actually, but they do a great job here of laying out, what the case is here in their introduction. Because initially, libel and defamation case, even though people call me about them all the time, somebody, I want to sue this person for. They can be difficult to prosecute. When I say prosecute, sue is the plaintiff's attorney. I use the word prosecute.
And the more famous you are, the harder it is for you to be successful.
Yeah, and that's why it's hard for politicians to sue for this, because if you're a public figure, then people are allowed to say negative things about you in essence, because we have First Amendment right here in this country.
Just as a side note, that's why I thought it was absolutely stupid for ABC to fold when they sued, when they had legal grounds, legal grounds. He was the president of the United States, Donald Trump, when he made the reference of rape. That should have been a winnable, because it's very, very difficult to win if you are somebody famous, especially the president of the United States. And especially when a judge says, "Yeah, this is rape."
Yeah.
But
Yeah. You're right about that. So in this Drake lawsuit here, they go into detail because they say, hey, okay, so first these things happen, but and even that's a good segue even to the president, because the Drake's attorneys are basically saying, look, this is happening because these people believe Drake to be a pedophile. Similar, and they actually use the analogous, similar to, do you remember the Pizzagate?
Pizzagate, and they said they had the pedophiles and the kids in the basement.
And then all these folks showed up to this pizzeria, random pizzeria in D.C. with guns, saying, we heard you have kids in the basement, and you're doing sexual acts to these kids in the basement. So similarly here, people are, Drake's a pedophile. They're showing up to his house and doing, and because the song Kendrick Lamar, it says that not only is he a pedophile, but we should respond with violence because of this.
Well, my thing is, I think Drake has some leverage. He has an advantage, because think about it. Why would he sue if he knew that he was a pedophile? Because during the discovery process, it would come out.
Yeah.
Now, if I was a pedophile, I wouldn't sue because it's going to come out.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's some credibility to it. I mean, I'm not going to sue you if there could be evidence out there that I'm a pedophile.
Mm-hmm. Right. It is. And some people might say, this is it's a rap battle, and you're just going back and forth. It's for the culture. But when you start making, allegations like this, I mean, when Ice Cube was saying some pretty salacious things about NWA back in the day, different folk, NWA, Eazy-E, and the different people there, but pedophile? I mean, and he didn't even try to. It wasn't even done in sort of a clever, sort of double entendre or something. He just came out right instead. He likes them young. I mean,
but what's young though?
The insinuation
that could be 18 years in one day.
It could, but the insinuation, I think that's pretty clear. Saying,
but you know what? And we both have done prosecutor and done defense of rape cases.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I did 2 juries, and at the the person was found not guilty, and I believe this was a consensual situation.
Mm-hmm.
But once you're labeled rapist, I don't think you could ever remove that. So to just throw out pedophile, that can stain a person for the rest of his life. What's his name? Chingy, I guess it's a guy out of St. Louis.
Yeah, Chingy.
There was a transgender woman who claimed that she was having relationships with him.
Yeah.
And it was totally false. Mm-hmm. She totally lied on him. And right or wrong, it affected his career.
Yeah.
And then later on, the transgender woman said it was all false. Mm-hmm. And she apologized. But you can't take that back.
Right.
Once you defame or slander someone.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the crux of his argument. You put that out there.
Right.
I can't be clean.
Mm-hmm.
You can't make me whole again.
Yeah. It's kind of weird because we have these 2 expressions. You say you can't cry over spilled milk, but you also can't put the milk back in a container. So you can't, it's both ways. Once it's out, it's out. So now it has to be dealt with. But UMG is the world's largest music company and also has music that they've represented Drake for more than a decade. Wow. But yet on May 4th, 2024, UMG approved, published, and launched a campaign to create a viral hit out of a rap track that falsely accused Drake of being a pedophile and calls for violence retribution against him. That's what the lawsuit says.
Well, maybe UMG, the strategy was wrong. Maybe they said we could make more money if we had them battling each other and didn't think about this part of it. Tainting someone's reputation like that.
Well, and that's an interesting point because when I was thinking about this, and it's just saying, oh, well, what would be UMG's motivation for doing this? If they've represented Drake for so long and they made a lot of money from him, why would they do this? But here it is. Even though UMG enriched itself and its shareholders by exploiting Drake's music for years and knew that the salacious allegations against Drake were false, this is still the Drake's attorney's complaint. UMG chose corporate greed over the safety and well-being of his artists.
Not in America. Corporate greed.
It says, in controversy, UMG saw an opportunity, seized it, and continued to fan the flames even after learning of the incitement of violence on May 7th and May 8th, along with unrelenting vitriol towards Drake that followed. But the reason they're saying UMG did this is they're saying that Drake had a contract coming up.
The plot thickens.
Yeah, he had a contract negotiation coming up, and that because he had this contract negotiation coming up, that UMG knew that it was gonna be a lot to keep Drake around. So they had an orchestrated plan to degrade or devalue Drake.
That wasn't a plan. They didn't think that one out.
to devalue Drake so much so that if he wanted to re-sign with them, that they can do it for a lot less money.
Man, that's dumb. If this guy's been making money for you this whole time, pay him what he's worth. Maybe he can make even more money for you.
Maybe his last hit is behind him.
Oh, like LeBron?
Yeah.
Like LeBron.
Yeah. So if they gave him a big contract and then, no one likes his music anymore, boom. So maybe,
Don't don't renew the contract then.
Yeah.
Do your big push behind Lamar.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would, it's on behalf of Drake's attorneys, that's I think it was a solid argument to a reason of why they would do this. Because at first blush, you look and just wait a second, they're both in the same label.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense. Why would label mates, in essence, why would they push one person over the other? And they're both popular. So why would you push this Kendrick Lamar over Drake? And I mean, that's a pretty good reason to do it.
It's always good to have a good motive.
Oh,
it sounds like a good one.
Yeah, yeah. So even outside of the motive, though, so when this if this goes to trial, do you think something like this will go to trial?
No.
Yeah, why you say that?
I mean, since these companies are all about money, they're going to be dumping more and more money into this. Then Drake's fans are going to look at them in a negative way. It may affect their corporation in a negative way.
Right.
I mean, I think they should sit down and say, how do we resolve this? I mean, nobody's going to win.
Right.
Nobody's going to win. Mm-hmm. Everybody's going to get dirty. And then the corporations, they got to realize they're going to lose money one way or the other. So you just have to minimize your losses. You created this mess, minimize it. Have them sit down at the table, make them make an apology or something like that. Sometimes just an apology, hey, I said something, I crossed the line.
I don't know. That would mean that people are logical and reasonable.
Got me there. You won that case, counselor.
Yeah.
You're right.
I haven't said it so far, but if it isn't obvious, UMG has strongly denied the allegations in the lawsuit, calling the lawsuit illogical and highlighting their long-standing support for Drake. So they're saying, they're fighting it. I would be interested. I'll be very interested to see this trial. I would like to see how this would, because it's going to be, now, the introduction is what we're going through in this lawsuit, where Drake's attorneys just kind of laying this out on what their theory is. I think it's a solid theory, but it's going to be tough to prove.
It's all about the proof. You
Yeah.
can say whatever you want to, but if you can't prove it, it's meaningless.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to prove. Now,
even if it's true.
Yes.
If you can't prove the truth.
Right. Because if UMG was, I don't think a lot of times corporations, and probably from advice from their attorneys, they don't put a lot of things in writing, because then if you ever are sued, the other side is going to get it or try to get it. But another game that's played is, say I'm Drake's attorneys and I say, okay, give me your emails about this topic. What UMG would do, they'll just give me millions and millions of emails about everything and say, okay, you find it, hoping you won't be able to locate exactly what you're looking for. So that's the game they play with that.
I got a real example, that brings to mind when they captured the American embassy in Iran.
Yes.
And that was, the embassies are really the headquarters for the CIA. And before the Iranians captured it, they had these big shred machines, and they were shredding documents before the Iranians could get in.
Right.
Guess what they did?
What?
The Iranians literally sat there and pasted it all together.
Yeah.
It spent like a month, but they pasted it all back together.
Oh, wow.
Watch it.
Yeah.
When people are motivated, you don't know what they'll do.
That's true. So now, Drake's attorneys are saying that, okay, you pushed this song, you pushed it because you wanted to devalue Drake, but they're also saying that they did more than they would do otherwise to push songs, right?
But can you sue for that?
Well,
they do that all the time.
I think they're trying to say that the UMG took extra steps to promote the song. One thing they said they did, UMG took the unprecedented step, contrary to its internal practices, to remove the recording's copyright restrictions on YouTube and Twitch, thereby whitelisting the recording to ensure content creators will republish it broadly.
Is that illegal?
It's not illegal, but they're saying that it's against UMG's normal policy. They removed so that anybody could just use the song anywhere they wanted.
Okay.
You know, they took off the copyright, so they said you don't even have to ask us permission to use the song.
So basically, they diluted the value of the song. They kind of diluted it, correct?
Yeah, they diluted the value of the song, but to make sure that it got out as many places as possible.
Yeah. Okay.
And then they go on further to say that UNG uses influence and connections to make sure that Kendrick Lamar performed at Super Bowl and that he performed that song. Now how they're going to prove these things? I don't know.
Emails?
Yep, you know, you can try emails, and maybe there's other methods that can be used to. Maybe there's someone internally who's willing to tell the truth.
Oh, you can always find somebody like that.
Yeah, somebody that's there who say, you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and actually tell you what happened and tell the truth about what happened, and get that going. But I think you're right, and this will probably be settled with money. But it's all based on what Drake's attorneys will call, the false pedophile accusations. It's saying it has a devastating effect on assassinating someone's character in general. Just the accusation of pedophilia is horrible and very, very painful for someone to try to get past. So what I was talking about with the motive, notwithstanding relationships spanning more than a decade, UMG intentionally sought to turn Drake into a pariah, a target for harassment or worse. UMG did so not because it believes any of the false claims to be true, but instead because they will profit from damaging Drake's reputation.
Well, that's one of the reasons. I mean, I think they settled that because if that's shown to be true, I mean, they're just damaging their reputation.
Right.
So is it really worth it at the end? I mean,
I've never been the CEO of a large corporation, but it seems to me from the outside looking in, they don't really care what happens. They just look to see what makes the most money. They don't care about their reputation. They don't care about ethics. They don't care about right or wrong.
You're right.
It's just whatever makes the most money.
Money, exactly.
So if someone sat somewhere and crunched some numbers, maybe it's like, well, if we lose this much in the lawsuit or we lose this much in sales, but he turns around and we sign him for this much, then he sells this many records anyway. Even if his sales go down because people think he's a pedophile, but if he still sells this much, or we sign him for less, we still make this much more money.
Well, that does make sense because there was a car company that produced a car, and that car had a defect.
Right.
And it cost a lot of money to remedy the defect. And what they did was, it was cheaper just to pay out anyone who's injured from this car defect than to correct the defect.
Wow. And this complaint also, it goes into it points out a couple examples, talking about how UMG, they've sued other people. They argued that accusations were offensively false allegations of criminal behavior that will be libelous per se if not contained within a legal filing. So UMG was sued for things they say weren't true in regards to being connected to sexual acts. And in their own words, in their own lawsuit, they said that the comments that you accuse someone of sexual misconduct will be libelous per se if it wasn't in a legal document. And they were, just last year, UMG and Sir Greenidge were accused, in their words, without the slightest factual basis, of aiding and abetting Sean P. Diddy Combs in his criminal sexual acts. So they countersued and said, you have no proof of this. Why are you dragging us into this case with P. Diddy? And that's
trying to dirty him up.
Yeah. And they saying that's a horrible thing for you to do to us, UMG. We're just an innocent bystander corporation. But now Drake is, again, an attorney's doing a great job here, really using their own words against him, setting this up. So, first look at this, and it's just the introduction. The complaint is long. It's 81 pages. hopefully, people, if you're interested in it, interested in us breaking down the lawsuit, let us know, comment. We can break down this whole thing. But just the introduction itself, I think it's interesting. Even though at first blush you think rap beef, rap about it, people suing over this now.
Exactly.
But I don't know, man. I think it's from first blush here, I don't think Drake is out of line here for filing this lawsuit.
But what do we always say? What's the most valuable thing that an attorney can have? It's reputation.
Absolutely.
It's your reputation price. If you have a reputation of not fighting for your client, you're not going to make any money.
Yeah.
If you have a reputation for fighting hard, you're going to have a successful career.
Right.
So the most valuable thing I think anyone has is their reputation. And if you tarnish that, how do you come back from that?
You can't. That's the thing about it. You can't. And I just don't, Drake in some of his songs, some of these songs accused Kendrick Lamar some horrible things, basically saying Kendrick Lamar's own child isn't his, and that he beats his partner, all sorts of things. That I mean, I don't know what happened between these two guys, but why would you say these very personal? I mean, that's just way too far. Whether it's true or not, why would you put that on a song?
I'm 61 years old, dude. I can't figure that out. I mean, going back but pedophilia? Come on, dude. I mean, there's a limit.
There is, and clearly that line has been crossed, and that's why we have this lawsuit here. So, I mean, it's going to be an interesting discussion. If you want us to get more into this lawsuit, like I say, let us know.
You know what? Call me skinny. You're skinny.
Right.
You hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
But don't call me a pedophile.
I know. I know. Tell me I'm not tall, I got a big head, whatever. Okay, let's do it. But when you say a pedophile, we got problems.
We got to fight.
Well, we do have to fight. We got to fight. Now we got to fight. So don't do it. Don't do it. But, they fighting in the court. Tupac and Biggie handled it.
I would love to see that televised.
What, a fist fight? Between Kendrick Lamar?
They would have made no money.
Oh, no.
They're too goofy.
Right.
No, what I'm saying is if this thing went to trial.
Oh, yes.
And I would just love to hear the opening statement.
Yeah. It would be interesting.
Because it would just outline everything for you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's it for today. We'll get into it later if you want to. If you want us to. Like, subscribe, do all these positive things, if you like the content here. And all right.
Yeah, and I can update my current rap knowledge.
Yeah, get it ready, man. Come on with an album, maybe.